Sir has completed his schooling in Sri Baldevdas Kani Vidya Mandir Higher Secondary School in Coimbatore and pursued his BA in Economics in PhD College of Arts and Science and PG Diploma in Sales and Marketing in Bhavna Institute of Management Studies. After his education, Sir, with his innovative thinking and leadership abilities, has worked with BPL as area sales manager for 6 years. With this acquired experience and problem solving abilities, the complete South Division of Voltas was taken care by him for over 14 years before joining Blue Star Limited as general manager. Blue Star Limited started as a reconditioning company, and then after inception, they ventured into designing and execution of air conditioning projects, as he has played a vital role for over a decade in those projects and has been showcasing his expertise and now is the vice president of the division. Channel management, it is defined as a process where the company develops various marketing techniques as well as sales strategies to reach the widest possible customer base. The channels are nothing but ways or outlets to market and sell products. The ultimate aim of any organization is to develop a better relationship between the customer and the product. Now I would like to invite Mr. C. Haridas and Rukishan to please take over the session.
Thank you, Chandan. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you for the nice introduction and welcome. Good morning and a warm welcome to all the students and the faculty of the Christu Jayanti College, the School of Management. My special thanks to Dr. Edward for giving me this opportunity to interact with
Thank you,
the
sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
and
for joining with us.
so this session is, I think, you have chosen a very right topic. I understand. During this COVID days where the retail has undergone severe disruptions, and it's a wonderful subject that you have chosen. And I would like to cover the channel management of the modern retail and enhancing the business. So I will start with sharing my screen of a presentation. Kindly let me know whether it is visible.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So first, before there are a few things I would like to just tell you. In case there is a power cut in my place, I have a standby hotspot available, which means maybe in a few seconds I will be able to reconnect it, because I am traveling in down south Tamil Nadu, not right now in Delhi or Gurugram. And feel free to chat or stop in case of any queries as we go by. So before moving into the modern retail, I would like to just briefly touch upon the various formats of retail. So where we have predominantly general trade, as we call it, which is the which is
इसमें क्या है ये गंदा पानी क्या बनाया
can I go ahead? Maybe,
Yeah, please.
yeah, okay, I'll unmute myself. I think maybe
Yeah.
request all others to keep it muted. So the bulk of the fulcrum of the retail consists of some what we call it as general trade. General trade is the traditional channel which consists of distributors, the direct and indirect retailers, and a lot of people also call them as the mom and pop stores, or the smaller version of the brick and mortar retailers. Then we have I think there is a small, okay. We have something called modern retail or modern trade. Both are interchanged. Modern retail or modern trade is a particular retail which is highly organized, which has a national presence. The general trade typically has either a local presence or at the best state or a regional presence. So just to give an example, since most of you are from Bangalore, a retail outlet like Harsha or let's say Bajaj Electronics comes under the general trade or large format. Retail stores like Chroma, Reliance and the Reliance Trends, all this comes under the modern trade. The big bazaar format, all that comes under modern trade or modern retail. Then under retail, we have something called the e-commerce, which has got both marketplace and the e-tail. The difference between e-tail and marketplace is e-tail is similar to what Flipkart does, which they buy it on their own and they sell it as a marketplace. And typical marketplace is where you have anyone who meets the requirements of the portal can go on to the portal, register themselves as an authorized sellers and sell it. So that is called a pure marketplace. So it's a amalgamation of both e-tail and the marketplace. Then we have in retail someone called booking agents who do not normally invest in stock. They do not normally have a storefront, but they work as licensing who go on and then canvas the business and then get a commission. So this is the broad classification of retail. In general trade, there is also a larger format, which is called large format stores, where a retailer will have more than 10 stores present in more cities within a state or within a region. It is examples or let's say Vasant & Co in Tamil Nadu, Vivek Limited in Tamil Nadu, and like I mentioned, Harsha of Karnataka, and QRS Trading of Kerala. So they are all called the large format retailers. So moving on to the modern retail, which is the subject that we would like to probably understand better during the course. As I mentioned earlier, this is one of the highly organized in terms of store management, operations, buying and service. I mean, any government, it's highly organized. They have a well-defined process where they actually taken the technology and the knowledge from the MNCs. Like when I remember when Chroma, the Tata Group, ventured into the retail, they have taken a help of an Australian organization, large format store, in terms of the technology, in terms of the how to manage the stores, the operations, buying and service. So we are talking about a corporate running a retail stores. So typically, these are all large organizations having a huge employee base, and they are spread all over the country. The decisions are highly centralized, and there is a, let's say, a hierarchy in terms of store level authority, and it goes as per certain defined process policies, like any big corporate. And they, as of date, there are 40,000 stores are there in India. When we say stores, the stores which are selling small appliances and large appliances. Here, I would like to just to bring it to the point that I am mostly going to cover the consumer durable, the white goods and the brown goods part of it, not the FMCG, because I have very little exposure in FMCG. So my session is more revolving around the consumer durable, white goods and brown goods industry. So there are, as per the estimate, there are 40,000 stores in the country, and roughly 4,000 stores belong to the modern retail. So approximately 10% of the share, and they have a share of business of 15% in the consumer durable industry. It's a 1,20,000 crore turnover.
മരുന്ന്
Kindly unmute.
It's a 1,20,000 crore industry, and this modern retail has a share of 15% of the whole overall business done in small appliances, large appliances, and mobile and IT. They are typically located in high streets, like you will find them always on big busy streets. typically on a posh market, one of the arterial roads of the cities, big markets, and shopping malls. The logic is very simple. What the modern retail believes is that you should be there where there a large footfall is there. They believe that they should not be wasting money and energy on chasing the customer. They should be present where customer is already going to be congregating. So they believe in footfall. So they normally choose. There is a team within the modern retail who will do a lot of research in identifying which market in a which geography in a city or which is growing and which has got large population of customers and which has got the adjacencies. For example, no, if it is a consumer durable, is there a market of electronic market nearby? All that they do research and they choose typically this important places in a city. You will also find them more and more in shopping malls. For the same reason, a shopping mall is a little more organized than an independent store. And shopping mall by itself, because of multiplexes, because of the food court, there is a lot of large floating customer base who will typically do window shopping. And if they are attracted, if you are able to generate very good store merchandising, you will be able to attract that customer who will step in. So they will normally choose those markets where footfalls are very high. And what we notice is that this modern retail is typically patronized by the young double income families, the husband and wife earning, and they are mobile. When I say mobile, they are not rooted to one location because of the job. They keep shifting from, let's say, Mumbai to Hyderabad or Chennai, and there are transferables. At the same time, they are IT savvy, which means they are not rooted to one place, and they don't believe or they don't have the loyalty for a local store. So they will normally, when they want to purchase, they would like to go for a reputed retail name, a brand like Reliance, Chroma, Big Bazaar, etc., depending upon what they want to buy. They will go, and they are typically IT savvy customers. So this is the characteristics typically about modern retail. And unfortunately, or we will say some of those characteristics led to huge disruptions in COVID-19. This particular modern retail was growing very fast. It was a 5% market, 5% share of business about, let's say, 7 or 8 years back, and it jumped to 15% thanks to proliferation of the stores, thanks to the fast expansion, thanks to the technology, thanks to their buying power. But after the COVID, the situation, whatever was, let's say, considered as a big strength for modern retail, became their biggest weakness. And this is one format which got highly disrupted in the COVID lockdown period. That is from March 23rd till the mid-May. This went through a tough time. Even, especially the reasons are malls were closed. The big markets were mostly in highly contaminated, let's say, zones, and high seats were not being patronized by the crowd because the customer stayed indoors. Unlike what happened during this time is that the mom and pop stores, what we call general trade, which is actually owned by a owner, where the owner typically sits in the shop and he is a decision maker. He has done the typical Indian jugaad. What he has done is that even though there were restrictions in the marketplace by the authorities, they were operating with some innovations and jugaad. They opened the stores early morning. I remember a lot of small stores delivered appliances and products during the midnight or very early in the morning. They had transported the goods in their own car or let's say omni vans or the service vans, and they somehow managed it. However, just because modern retail is highly organized and it has got a hierarchy and they work like an organization, they could not do this jugaad, and they had practically zero revenue during the unlock period. So just to say that they were the most affected and more highly disrupted retail format across the formats. I'm sure all of you are aware, you must have been reading the newspapers and a lot of articles which went gaga about the online market during this particular period. So there was a boom in online, especially after the unlock for appliances, because even after the unlock 1.0, the customer was not willing to step into malls. They were afraid of going into stores where they felt that no, they will be interacting with a lot of customers. Also, there was an unwanted or unsubstantiated reports floating in the news media, promoted by the media and by certain governments like Maharashtra government and the Tamil Nadu government, which prohibited air conditioning, the use of air conditioning in the business premises during the unlock period. They were of the opinion that an air conditioner will spread the COVID virus faster. That was later it was found that it is not true, and it was established by the ASHRAE that the air conditioning actually prevents further spread of COVID, because it delivers the 24 to 30 degree ambient temperature and also delivers the right level of humidity. So that part, so this during this period when there was high level of confusion, the malls and the big retail stores could not operate air conditioning. So customers were also not willing to step in. So the whatever was plus, whatever was a strength pre-COVID became a biggest stumbling blocks post-COVID. Even during the unlock period, there were several restrictions. So I was personally visiting some of the stores. There used to be in a store in a Bangalore city, let's say in Kroma, there used to be a staff strength of almost at any point of time 30 to 40 in, let's say, in a two-story format. However, during the unlock period, government has stipulated that they should not operate with more than 7 or 10, which means the number of sales staff, direct and indirect, handling the customer was also very restricted. And there was a restriction in number of customers that can enter into the stores. I remember seeing queue outside the stores so that no, the customer were allowed in batches. So this was also leading to huge disruption, loss of business. And also there were decision making related issues. Like I was mentioning that no, in a small format, there is a single owner or maybe two partners and they were able to take decisions. In modern retail, there is a chain of command. You can't deviate that easily, and you will have to strictly follow, and which means most of the people, the operating managers were operating from home. There were probably network related issues and decision making in terms of whether I should open, what should I run offers, or how do I localize a particular promotion. All this was becoming a stumbling block. So this is what happened during the COVID-19, the lockdown and the unlock period. Now, let's see what happened during the post-COVID. So there were a lot of layout and assortment changes post-COVID. The modern retail quickly identified the layout. They made quite a few layout changes. In the sense, they ensured that there is a social distancing within the stores. So earlier you would have found a lot of products blocked in one particular place or multiple appliances in one particular place. They have redefined the layout, and they have also ensured that the slow moving SKUs are cleared out of the display, so that the showroom, very importantly, every showroom has got a very critical role to play of generating revenue per square feet. So whatever product that was not delivering the targeted revenue per square feet, they weeded it out. So they started displaying what they call it an assortment, or what they call it a planogram. They started displaying only those which was delivering the business. So this change they made it, and they made it more smart. And they also ensure that the staff, they used to have 40-50 staff, and they used to have specialists. So for example, you will find a salesperson who only knows about a television. You will find a salesperson who will only talk about washing machines. He will not know anything about, let's say, a water purifier. So you will also have a sales team who will be specialized only for air conditioner. So what happening is that when you are forced to reduce, when you are forced to operate from ideal situation of 40 staff to, let's say, less than 10, then you can't have specialist. You need to have generalist. So what happened is that they went in, there was a huge training. The whole unlockdown period was facilitated by massive training by the companies and by the modern retailers, where they have converted the specialist into generalist. So today, if you go to a modern trade during the less,
Yeah, even I.
yes. So when you find that when you go to visit a modern retail today, you will find a salesperson who will talk to you about, let's say, television, and may also talk to you about an IT product. So they all become generalists. It's a need of the hour. Very importantly, the digitalization, actually a lot of initiative which otherwise would have taken 1 year, 2 year, were condensed into 2-3 months. And there was a huge digitalization in terms of product information, in terms of the sales booking and delivery happened. What these modern retail players have adapted themselves is that they have developed, let's say, demo videos. The brands collaborated with them, and there was a massive efforts in developing a very short and sweet demos. One is a condensed demos, and second is a live demo. Demo is a very popular sales tool in China, which is one of the largest market in the world, and almost 10 times of Indian market. You will find a lot of live demos going on online from the store. So customer is not coming to you. You can go to the customer's house. How will you go to the customer's house? If a customer wants to buy an appliances, they developed a system where through WhatsApp or through a video call, you can deliver a live demo or a recorded demo of a product. The customer, in the comfort of their homes, can at home can go through the demo, answer the queries. There is always a dedicated, let's say, WhatsApp number and or the call number who was able to clarify. So they almost try to deliver an experience what they will otherwise get from store. Also the sales booking process. The customer need not step into the showroom. There were a lot of online payment tools were made available during this particular period. And delivery was also was done without any, let's say, need for a customer to step into the showroom. So the post-COVID actually is one of the COVID, I mean, is one of the biggest IT chief that drove a lot of organizations to adapt digitalization. And I would say, if somebody asks me what is the best positive in this whole COVID scenario, it is a digitalization that drove the entire industry, be it sale, be it products, or be it services. Everyone adapted this digitalization. Finally, the other digital adaptations like the omni-channel experience. Like, can I deliver the same experience of touch and feel without that touch and feel aspect in their omni-channel experience? That whether it is online, offline, all that expanded, and serious investments have gone into online sales like every modern retailer today has a very vibrant online, which they, website, which they did not pay attention earlier. They were not focused on content. Earlier, if you 1 year back, if you've gone to a Chroma website or a Reliance Digital website or a let's say a Vijay Sales website, you would have found a basic information. It would be a copy paste of let's say a catalog with very minimal information. Today, if you visit the website of these modern retailers, you will find the same experience what you will get it in let's say Amazon or a Flipkart, because there again the brands collaborated with them. They worked on content, they worked on images, multiple images. There were 3D images which were developed and demo videos. Very importantly, a detailed explanation of the product and its features. And finally, the ratings also got included. And a lot of this modern retailers also became a pure e-commerce players by ensuring various payment gateways are integrated in their system. Earlier, they must have had some basic payment or cash on delivery. Today, they have got all kind of payment options, including what people call as affordability. Affordability in the sense, credit card EMI options, cashback options, and the interest-free EMI options. All are available today with this modern trade, be it online, offline. So this is about the modern retail. I'm sure this would have given the viewers a decent idea about what is modern trade retail and how it grew, what it contributed, what it was before COVID, and what is now post-COVID. So with this context setting, we will touch the future of modern retail and go on to the channel management. So it's very important to understand what will be the future of modern trade. So the biggest change will be the omni retail. Omni retail is nothing but an omnipresent retail. That is, let's say you walk into a Reliance digital store. You see one particular layout, you get one kind of experience. Can I deliver that same experience in a large format retail Reliance store? They also have something called Reliance Mini. They also have something called Geo stores. So they have different. So there is the Reliance Trends, and they have also taken over. You are aware that uh, the ABRL also, which soon will come into. So whether customer will get same experience, the same service, and same buying experiences in large format or small format. Also very importantly, in online. So customer, let's say he decides, I don't want to step into your store. Can I go to online? Can I book in your digital Reliance Digital online, and can I pick it up from your store, or will you deliver it in my store? Whatever you choose, whether I'm getting an omni retail experience, this is something will drive the future of modern retail. So whether you're physically visiting, whether you are on call, whether you are let's say using both online offline, they would like to be serviced, and they would like to be offered a same experience which is world class. So this is a future of modern retail, which means you are looking at two formidable business entities, modern retail and e-commerce, coming together and flexing their muscles. Second important future of modern retail is digitalization in every aspect of business. Today, even payment is gone touch free. And so they will look at anything and everything, whether uh, I can use digitalization to ensure that the social distancing and contactless experience is maintained, whether you step into the store or whether you are buying online. Can I deliver the safety of this? Can I allay the concerns of customer? Can I make everything digital so that customer need not worry about their safety? Because all said and done, vaccine is on around the corner. We will all get vaccinated by the, let's say, end of June next year. The today it's COVID, but tomorrow it can be anything else. So this particular fear of virus will always be there. So the future, the behavior of a customer will undergo a massive change post COVID. It won't be the same. Customer will not be, let's say, free to touch or would like to get exposed unwantedly. So they will look at digitalizing every aspect of business. That means even bill in future will disappear. It will be all, your bill will land in your mobile. I'm noticing already it is done in a lot of modern trade places, including the home center. I've noticed when I did a purchase, I didn't get a physical bill. I just got a digital bill. So everything will be digital. Even the cards will go touchless. They will look at even the water dispenser, which is no, will go touchless. So you don't have to use you don't have to physically contact. So that kind of thinking is already there in the modern retail stores. They will also now look at relationship and loyalty programs. Typically, if you go to Gulf countries, you will find the large format stores having a lot of loyalty program. I had mentioned earlier that the major patronage of modern retail is by the moving crowd, who are typically not loyal. However, the future of modern retail will depend on how do I build a relationship management and how do I bring loyalty programs so that the customer stays with me, be it online, be it offline. Now, to build a relation, you have to know the person better, right? You can't build a relation without knowing the other person better, be it personal or be it official or be it business. So the lot of data mining, lot of investments will go in acquiring data, building a database, building artificial intelligence in the programs. So, for example, they are now already investing big time in understanding who's my customer, what has he purchased, what is his income. And there are a lot of agencies who are in this space. Just by through a mobile number, they can give information like what is annual income of this particular customer, how much he spends on electricity, how much is his credit card investments, whether he travels overseas. Everything is available today through a lot of and Facebook is one of the largest database providers today who can run targeted focused programs. So you will find modern retail investing heavily in database building, data mining, and artificial intelligence. So it's as good as an IT company they will be investing in, and they will run a lot of loyalty programs. So you buy a product, they will probably look at giving bonus points in next purchase so that they will ensure that you're always with them. It's very popular in Middle Eastern countries. And you will also notice a large consolidation and domination of large players. Today, there are 20 odd modern retail big names. Another 2 years down the line, it will come down to probably 4 or 5, which means there'll be a consolidation. One big player will buy the smaller, medium players. And what will happen is that overnight, they will get large presence. So suddenly from 1,000 stores, they will have a 2,000 store presence. And you will also find they entering in uncharted territories today. Typically, modern retail is very strong in South and West India. South is one of the most sophisticated market in the country, very organized, very, let's say, well-managed. State governments are doing a good job. Whereas modern retail is not very present except in North India, except Delhi NCR. You will not find modern retail in Punjab, Rajasthan, Jammu and Kashmir, Himachal, or Uttar Pradesh, and Bihar on the eastern side. So you will find modern retail expanding in this uncharted territories because of the consolidation and the amalgamations. And also eastern markets, which is hardly seen modern trade. East India, the modern trade contribution is less than 2%. So they have a huge room for growth. because East is one of the fastest developing region today, thanks to the infrastructure building. So you will find the modern trade, modern retail from a present 15% share jumping to, with technology, with the help of becoming online, might double in my opinion in next 5 years. And they might serve, today they are serving almost 6,000 pin codes. They are targeting to serve 18,000 pin codes in next 5 years, which means every single buying market in the country will get serviced by them. So that is the future of modern retail. Last but not least, you will find a lot of private labels getting into modern retail. When I say private label, it is their own products. They may have a sub brand or they might call it with their own brand. You will find them entering thanks to the Indian government Atmanirbhar program, and thanks to the import restrictions that they are doing, and thanks to the massive incentives they are giving for indigenization, you will find more and more manufacturers, the manufacturing base, like India may become the second largest manufacturing base in the world. So what will happen is that there will be a large manufacturing ecosystem, and modern retail will not manufacture, will not produce, but they will source from the large manufacturer. They will label with their own brand, and they will start promoting private labels, which will give wider options to the customers. And also they will enter into brand licenses. When I say brand license, since you are from Bangalore, the best example is BPL. BPL, where I worked for 6 years, was a leader in consumer durables. Today, they are not there in active in the market, but the brand name BPL is very popular in the consumer mind. So what they have done is that BPL has given a brand license to Flipkart. So Flipkart Flipkart will outsource a product and use the brand name of BPL and pay a royalty to BPL. So what happens is that Flipkart gets a brand to promote, and BPL gets a revenue in terms of loyalty. So this is called a brand licensing arrangement. So this is going to be the future of modern retail. So it's going to be an exciting time, well organized, and going to really dominate this particular retail space. So how will you manage this channel, which is emerging as a dominant channel? What are the key requirements to manage this particular channel? One is that you need to have a key account mindset. The whole thing is you have to have a single window approach to this account. For example, if I want to deliver a higher share from Reliance or Chroma or let's say Big Bazaar, for that matter, Metro Cash and Carry or Walmart or EBRL, you name it, you need to have, the company should have a single window solution, which means there should not be multiple set of people. The brand should not play football. They should not say for, let's say for planogram, for pricing, you contact this guy. For deliveries, you contact this gentleman. For service, you contact this gentleman. So that will not work. What will work effectively is a key account management, where a unit within an organization interacts closely, and there is a single window for every single solution, right from choice of. Every brand has, let's say, every product has got, let's say, 100 SKUs. Which SKU will be the right suitable SKUs, set of SKUs for a particular modern retail? And what should be displayed, what should be purchased, how much should be kept in each store, and what is the minimum stock level, what should be the order fulfillment, what is the replenishment cycle, from where I will replenish, and what are the regional and local tweaking. For example, Kerala is a big one-ton market in case of air conditioner. In case of water purifier, Kerala is a UV purifier market. In case of an air cooler, Kerala sells only less than 25-liter air coolers. Like that, there are some regional one. If you go to Andhra, For example, Andhra sells mostly 1.5 ton air conditioners, sells large capacity air coolers, and the RO UV water purifier is the most effective one. So this regional local tweaking will play a large role in the SKU selection and display and the assortments. So there has to be a key account management where one set of team will focus on from sales from company to the modern trade, and one set of sales team will focus on sales from stores to the end customers. So we call it sell in and sell out. So under this key account management, you will have a sell-in team which will closely work, which will have a technology, which will be automated. In the sense, the system of modern retail will directly talk to the IT system of a brand, and there is no manual intervention. The orders based on certain algorithms will get fulfilled. So it is automated with, of course, little bit of a manual. So that is a selling team. There is a sellout team which will focus on merchandise, which will focus on effective training to the sales staff, which will ensure that the entire sales force in a floor is well versed with the products, which will focus on replenishments, and which will also focus on running promotions and the loyalty programs to the customers. So this is about key account management. Very importantly, post-sale service is going to be a critical element in the channel management of modern retail. Gone are the days where the service is the responsibility of the brand. Earlier days, if you buy a branded product and if there is a problem, the retailer will tell you, sir, please contact the customer contact number of the brand. That is not going to be sufficient for future of modern retail. They have to have their own CRM, they have to have their own customer service department, and they have to have a very high special tie-ups and alliances which will ensure the TAT, the turnaround time of a service. And service will become a major USP in modern retail. When I say service, it not only is the post-sale service, it talks about extended warranty, it talks about additional protection, it talks about an insurance in case of theft or loss or damage. All this comes as post-sale service. So there is going to be a department with investments in technology, CRM, and a lot of alliances with insurance companies, underwriters, all taking care of the customers. Like I mentioned earlier, the future of the channel management of will include omni retail, whether a brand can deliver, collaborate with modern retail and deliver same omnipresent experience in the large primary stores, the smaller secondary stores, and online. So this is going to be a channel management requirement. This calls for a product management and the marketing of the brands closely working with the modern retail, which means content creation. Content is the king. The content, be it offline, be it online, will drive it. The future will, in future, we will not see so many sales staff in a store. It will be less. Can it, maybe a robot, can a robot do the salesperson role? Or there is something called the human and robot combination, or can the product itself can talk to the customer when a customer comes in front of this? All this experiences, that is self-delivery, the same happens in online, that also can become a very important channel management tool. Last but not the least is the promotion. Point of sale, how can I be effective? How can I deliver the, let's say, content speech to a customer without manual intervention? And can my promotion have a standard which will be more relevant to the customers? And can you do customized promotions? For example, it can be for a region, it can be for a store, one particular store in a city. Chennai might have, let's say, 30 stores of modern retail. Can I run a store in, let's say, Tambaram, where there is a particular need for it? At the same time, can I run 4,000, 3,000 different promotions in different locations through technology? Today, that is possible with targeted focused marketing tools. Can I run it? And can I use all the digital tools to ensure that I deliver the low cost promotion, still get the highest output? The best part of digital tool is that unlike the traditional mediums like television, newspaper, and the hoardings, you will not, you will find it very difficult to know the effectiveness. It's very difficult. You have to do a lot of tracking. With digital tools, you will know how many customers have seen, how many customers have been taken action on that, how much got converted, what is the cost per visibility, what is the cost per conversion, and you can run it beautifully. Target marketer. If I want to target only architects, I can only attack those architects through LinkedIn, so that I reach those 4 lakh architects through LinkedIn, maybe a tad more expensive, but it will reach them like precision marketing. So this is how the channel management part we have to work on it. So I hope I have covered the subject in this 45 minutes, and I would like to take the question and answers at this stage. I will stop sharing and I will go to the question answers here.
We thank you for this splendid session, sir, and to enlighten our minds in regards to modern retailing and channel management during this pandemic. Now the floor is open for questions.
Sir, this is Dr. V. Ravindran from School of Management. So before student ask, can I ask a few questions, sir?
Sure, yes.
So initially I worked in industry, and specifically my career starts with BPL Sanyo.
Wow,
Yes.
that's good.
From that I have a doubt. So when we are selling the BPL Sanyo, this FMCD,
Okay.
when we are targeting the modern retailing,
Okay.
so normally at the time it's a BPL lanterns, gas stove, radio, black and white television. Mostly it is a very good product, but it has to depend on only on the loyal customers.
That's right.
So at the time, company is also not ready to reduce the price and not ready to give the discount to retailer also.
Okay.
So that is the challenge I faced at that time. So now, when we are going to the modern retailing, so mostly the modern retailing is dominated by the trade schemes, trade agreements, retail promotion,
Yes.
and however we give the advertisement, the final decision will be by the salesman who is recommended.
Yes.
Another side, if it is a FMCG, I also worked in Dabur India and PepsiCo.
Okay, good.
There we have to emphasize on the retailing with respect to merchandising,
Merchandise.
planogram,
Absolutely.
store management, display, etc. There we can create a impulse purchase. So there is
Yes.
a huge difference between these things. So when a new company want to penetrate into the market, they have to mostly depend on the modern retailer that is dominated by retail schemes.
That's right.
How they can overcome this as a new company, sir?
Actually, it's a good question actually, because no, I can also include startups here, startup brands as a newcomers. So typically, modern retail is averse to taking, let's say, risk with new brands or startup brands or brands which are, let's say, gone down and then coming up. What the modern trade requirement is very basic. In the sense, they have the highest cost of operation. You must be aware. If let's say a small retailer has, let's say, 5% of their turnover goes into their fixed and variable costs. In case of a modern retail, because of they are present in large format stores, because they are an organized player, their cost of operation running the business is 12 to 14%. So if they sell a product for 100 rupees, they have to set aside 12 to 14% only to take care of their overheads, which is their rental, electricity, manpower, logistics, everything. Whereas a smaller retailer need to only set aside 4%. So that difference, in some case, it is 10%. So what happened? Their appetite, we call it, their appetite for margin is very high. So they will demand a retention, a large retention over and above this particular minimum So naturally, your trade scheme has to be the trade scheme or the retention, what they call it, from the selling price is the first foremost determinant. So what in this case, brand should do is that they should smartly choose the SKU. There will be 100 SKUs. Let's say even in a product portfolio, you will have 20, 30 models or SKUs. Typically, some SKUs have a cost advantage, or some SKUs has a USP advantage at the incremental cost. So what happens is customer is willing to give a higher value. Let's say I'm giving an example of a Wi-Fi air conditioner. Let's say Wi-Fi air conditioner incremental cost is 100 rupees, but if a customer is willing to give 2000 rupees, then you have a buffer there. So those SKUs can be targeted for modern trade, because modern trade likes to promote those products which are having a little different than general trade. So here the brand strategy should be choosing those low cost SKUs so that you can meet the margin appetite of the modern retail, or choosing those special products with better USP, which will deliver them a higher value, will give you an entry. And once you gain an entry, then ensuring that the brand is visible, that you have to buy a little bit space in their showrooms, strategic space. You may have to invest in the branding, and you should ensure that the product is well displayed. Then automatically we find traction happening. One good thing with modern retail is that they don't convert the customer. They allow the customer to make the buying choice, unlike a small retailer who will bulldoze the customer to buy a brand where he has got vested interest. Here it is tend to be neutral. So this is what I would suggest a new brand or the startup brands.
Yes, sir. One more question, sir.
Anji.
So, with respect to the store brands, you are saying the store brands. Yes, sir. Mostly in textile, FMCG, there are a lot of store brands. In terms
Private
of
labels.
private
Great.
label brands in terms of modern retailing. Why it is not that much in terms of FMCG? Actually, it is so much possible. Rather than the company store,
Yeah,
store brands
actually,
is not happening,
you're
except
right.
like it's a Reliance Trends. And
Correct.
another one is, sir, how, as you are from the air conditioner industry, during the seasonal time, there's a peak season time, there's a lot of competition from the gray market.
Absolutely.
How you are handling it exactly, sir?
Sure, sir. So I'll try and answer the FMCG first. Typically, I understand it's very easy, as you rightly mentioned, because FMCG is also outsourcing a lot of products. But probably where I come is FMCG is traditionally highly need a trusted brand, and you need or fighting with big brands like HUL and no etc. Daubers and all that of the world, Glaxmos, where they have invested in branding, and every category has a branding, which means large investments are needed in branding in order to deliver the trust. The second, let's say, hurdle or the second obstacles could be the regulatory environment in FMCG. I guess there is a stringent regulations both by state government and central government in terms of approvals, and those things may be uh, preventing. But like I mentioned, now they are becoming more and more organized. I will not be surprised if they also introduce FMCG. And I'm noticing a lot of rice, pulses, things like salt already in the modern trade own private label. So it's a question of time. The cosmetics and the beauty product might come next, and followed by the other. It might come. So we'll have to wait and see what is unfolding this particular space. But as you rightly mentioned, it looks like exciting. Maybe I will give this suggestions to them all when I interact with them next time. Coming to the seasonal demand and the gray market, the second question, not only air conditioner, it is there prevalent in all the appliances. Today, thanks to the import restrictions and thanks to a lot of stringent, I mean, this all happened because of the India-China skirmish on the border, and then they are tightening their licenses today in almost all the cases. And there is a special import license needed, and the customs is not clearing the documents, consignments very easily today. It is taking Normally it used to take 15 days, it is taking 2 months because there is a mandatory inspection that is going on. So thanks to these measures, I foresee this gray market challenge will be very minimal or eliminated in the coming season. So that's a good development.
Yes, thank you, sir. So there is another question from Ms. Josephine Lalita.
Hanji.
What revival strategies can be adopted by the small shops in textile or general merchandise who cannot go for online marketing?
Yes, actually, it's a very interesting question. I would like to thank her for bringing this particular point, which I mean, I wanted to close it with it. If you notice during this lockdown period, it is those neighborhood stores, those kirana stores, those boys who delivered milk, those people who delivered vegetables, they are the one who saved our lives. If you really see that, no, and we owe a lot gratitude to them. And today, what is happening is that as the unlock is happening, there is so much of hype on this online and e-commerce. It is going to be taking over the all these areas. But I think in India, the neighborhood stores have a large play, thanks to our buying behaviors and our culture and our trust. Just to answer this question, during the unlock period, when big stores struggled to open, small stores did fantastic business. All the small retailers in appliances did booming business in the unlock period because people stayed indoors. So there was a need for large refrigerators. People stayed indoors and they wanted smart televisions. And maids were not encouraged, so they wanted washing machines, they wanted dishwashers. Dishwashers was not available for some time. The electric razors, because people didn't go to the barber shops, they all resorted to self. I think family members were converted into hair stylist and all that. There was a massive demand, and it is the small neighborhood stores which service the population. So my answer is that they know the small shops, neighborhood stores know the customers very well. While modern retail is investing heavily in technology, these people know the horoscope of every family in their neighborhood. They know the father's name, they know the grandfather, they know the children, and they know what is service. So I'm noticing they are becoming innovative. They are gone digital. They have gone contactless payments. In fact, my neighborhood store guy says, "Boss, send me Paytm, I'll deliver." He never used to deliver earlier. Today he's having a delivery system completely, let's say, contactless. He comes nicely, packs and delivers. So my answer will lie, they need not go online. They can go digital. They can facilitate cashless transactions. There is so much options available today. Paytm, Google Pay, you name it, it is available very easy. And they can look at contactless deliveries, safe deliveries, and they can easily promote in the neighborhood. They can in fact use Facebook to promote, target for a street. For example, a local store, textile store can, in less than 10,000 rupees, reach every single, let's say, Facebook user or the other famous one, the name which I think it's not coming to my mind, not Twitter, the other one which is next popular to the Facebook. You can spend very little money and reach out and run a very targeted campaign. You can only target a street or a particular locality. So this is how they can adapt and innovate and survive. Last but not least, they can join hands with online because Reliance Jio has got massive plans. Reliance Jio has something called micro marketplace model where they want to enroll every single kirana shop of the country, and they become, so the kirana shops are the small merchant textile owners, be it small hotel, can cater the regular customer. They can also get new customer by joining hands with let's say a large player and become a marketplace. All you need is a system, somebody who's IT savvy from the family, or a person who is paid some, let's say 10, 15,000 per month. He can run it and he can generate business.
Sir, can we have a few more questions, sir, in the chat?
Yeah, please. Sure.
Yes, sir. The next question is by first year MBA student Raksha.
Okay.
Sir, I have a question. As you mentioned that in post-COVID, modern retail needs to gain customer loyalty. But since the modern retail market was only focused on high street customers, would the customers still be limited to them, or would now involve a larger customer base? Because not everyone always shops in malls.
Correct.
Also, you also said in future number of staffs will be reducing. So
That's right.
don't you think this would lower employment opportunities for freshers in the field, or how would that be tackled for the freshers?
Yeah, I will address the last question first. Yes, this is going to reduce the employment opportunity in modern retail. Yeah, she is absolutely right. For example, we used to employ indirectly 2000 sales promoters. Today it is down to 1000 numbers because of the constraints, and because of they don't want to create a fear when a customer enters. No, the moment you see a crowd, you are worried about it. So yes, I think in short term there may be a loss of employment per store, but what will happen is that they are going to engage, they are going to expand. So they will be expanding more stores, they are going to more geographies. So the employment may shift from big towns to smaller towns. So the good point is that the employment opportunities were earlier restricted only the 10 big cities of India. So you will find migration from, let's say, entire down south Tamil Nadu people coming to Chennai, and the smaller cities people coming to Bangalore. Today, that's the situation. But what will happen tomorrow is that because of the expansion, because of the need to service customer closer, because of they have to be online, and online they have to be omnipresent, you will find them having more and more smaller stores, which means employment opportunity may actually increase, not from same place but in a different place. So you will also find that income in hands of smaller, and this also in one way good, because smaller cities have a smaller let's say cost of living, and you will also decongest the big cities with lot of, and you will also notice with lot of companies going more and more work from home, especially IT companies, you will find demand coming from smaller markets also. So this, while there will be a temporary impact of loss of employment in big cities, there is going to be a positive impact of generation of employment in smaller cities and in larger stores. And coming to the loyalty challenge, yes, it is going to be a challenge, because the customer is not necessarily loyal, and he is not just attracted by few points anymore. You need to have a very robust and very engaging uh, uh, program which has got artificial intelligence. So when I say artificial intelligence, the store will have to identify, for example, today he has bought a television, or let's say an FMC scenario is buying a set of let's say um FMCG product. What is likely to buy next time when he comes? When is he likely to come based on the frequency? So is he going to upgrade it? Suppose if has he got a product which is 5 years, 7 years, which is reading end of life cycle. Old product will be less efficient. Can I offer him an upgrade? So it has to have an artificial intelligence. Then it will become powerful. Not a simple loyalty which has got points, which has got some reward. That is not going to work. And very importantly, can the loyalty program have host of other alliance programs? So when he buys, can I get something else from, let's say, Tata Group? Chroma is from Tata Group. Can the entire Tata ecosystem can give him a value addition, so that he's not loyal to only Chroma, is loyal to the overall Tata Group. So this kind of innovations will be important. So it's a right question. It's a big challenge. It needs technology. It needs creativity. It needs good thinking. Actually,
Yes. Next question, sir. So, as we know that rural people are nowadays having a more per capita income. They are ready to buy the product in cash and carry.
yeah,
But urban people still they are going by EMI or credit card.
that's right.
But still, our modern trade and big corporates are targeting only the cities. What might
Only the, sorry,
cities?
cities. Yeah, when that is changing, it is going to change with the online. What we are noticing, we've had a presentation by Amazon 2 days back, because they are planning for next year. Amazon is talking about they call it affordability. They call entire EMI options as affordability. They are seeing a jump of 30% to 50% in small cities in EMI options, because like it is spreading, the smaller cities are also going for more and more EMI options. There is a massive effort that is happening in the microfinance front. A lot of private fintech guys, not necessarily big players like SBI, Bajaj Finance. There are a lot of fintech guys, small startups, who are having funding by the promoters, and they are funding those people who are rejected by people like Bajaj Finance. They are not insisting on a CIBIL rating of 700, 650. Even if your rating is 500, they are willing to fund it. So that is likely to change, in my opinion. And our sense is that this affordability or the EMI options today is around 35% of the whole consumer durable industry, 90% in automobile industry. In consumer and durability, it will touch 40, it will touch 50 to 60% by next year. Especially when customer has got cash, he is not willing to spend cash, he is cautious, he wants to defer the payments.
Yes. So maybe the last question from the second year MBA, Kevin Ronaldo. What kind of team talent is needed as you build and evolve the sales operations team? How have you built your team in the past? Tell you, sir, if they recognize the mix of strategic and tactical folks needed as the state team scales and know how to build a good team.
Okay, I think it is one of the massive challenge that faces any leader or manager. Basically, I will start from the beginning. When you're at your starting levels, that is starting stage, what you call typically frontline or entry level professional, you have to be a good follower. In the sense, you have to be a keen observer. You have to be a good in execution. See, what needed in the beginning stages is that understanding the company's policies, company's priorities, company's strategies, asking relevant question and executing as a process. Because every large company or small company today has process, SOPs. Simply follow that and start taking initiatives, because there is a room for initiatives. This particular trait, the competency called initiative, that is going beyond the boundaries, going beyond my job description, going beyond my KRAs. Of course, delivering the KRAs and going beyond, understanding what is my support functions, challenges, and how do I collaborate is very important. So we are talking about one, the knowledge is given by the organization. When they are in the college, they gain knowledge, they gain concepts, they gain the theory of everything. When it comes to a first job, it is converting that knowledge into practical application basis the company's policies and process to deliver a particular goal. It can be a target, it can be a sales, it can be a revenue, it can be a customer service. Simply ensuring that you are sticking, you are learning, and you become a star when you take initiative. But once you do that, you have to start becoming a team player. So what happens is that in most of the organization, star is always welcome, but they also look at team player who will empathize with the supporting function, because every company has support functions. So the dual ability of taking initiative, going that extra mile, and being a team player is important in the initial period. And when you are in middle level, can you lead a team? Can you lead a team? Can you inspire them? Can you lead from the front? Can you understand what are the challenges that is preventing them from delivering the goals? And can I remove non-value additional processes? Suppose if there is a policy which is non-value adding, if there is a process which is a waste of energy, as a manager, can I remove those bottlenecks and ensure my team goes on a green, let's say on a fast track, on a green channel to deliver the results? that becomes important in the let's say middle levels. So this is how you can address the challenges in the profession and deliver your results.
Thank you, sir. It's a very wonderful session. Yes. Over to MC.
Yeah. Thank you. I think it was pretty useful and I think excellent questions. I think I should really compliment your students for asking those relevant questions. That also shows they have gone through the session and they have put their thinking hat. I am wishing all the very best to all the students, the young and let's say aspiring management students, and wishing them all the best. And thank you once again, Dr. Edward, and thanks
Thank
to
you.
the entire college administration for giving me this opportunity.
Sir, thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.
All the best. Thank you.
Mr. has been our prominent employer.
Oh,
Kailash is there, second batch Kailash is there, and then
yeah, that's great.
third batch one person is there. Still, we have a very good talent pool we have in our campus. So at any point of time, the company can come and
Yes,
select our students any point of time.
things are opening up now. There is a positive mood in recruitment,
Okay.
and I'm sure the worst is behind us.
Yeah.
And the world will emerge a better place post-COVID. That's it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I hope Kailash is doing well. Kailash is doing well. He's
Yeah, he will do well. He is a very enterprising person. Now gone digital. He's one of the digital CV guy in our team.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you all. Thank you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. We learned a lot about modern trade, retail challenges in modern trade, characteristics and need of omni-channel with specific need for digitalizing retail industry, including small stores to mega modern stores. Personally, we learned a lot, sir. Thank you. It's a great honor to have you with us today. Kindly all remain as the chief guest takes leave.
Yes, will be.
General guidelines. Students and other participants join back at sharp 2 p.m. for the third keynote session. Thank you.
Dear students, you kindly log in at 1:50 p.m. 1:50, all of you log in. We are going to hear from our alumni, Miss Merville. She is working in UAE. So she's our own alumni student, second batch. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.